Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Talks. My name is Michael Bertoni and I'm the founder and CEO of Philly Tech. And I'm so excited that we're back to doing Tech Talks. This is unbelievable. So we're basically doing remote Tech Talks here. People could still come into the studio to do Tech Talks, but I've got a pretty large network outside, so it's great. And I'm really excited today because I have a great guest from my past at William & Mary, where I played football at the College of William & Mary. Mark Pushinsky, he is the managing partner for The Hard Yards. So it's great to see you, Mark.
Great to see you too, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
So just to tell you a little bit about my show again, Tech Talks is dedicated to entrepreneurs, tech startups, software companies, high-tech companies, companies that are in this ecosystem. Everybody out there has the opportunity to build technology, to innovate. It's a lot easier these days than it was many years ago. And this show is really dedicated to your success, right? And what we do is we bring on great guests that talk about technology, software, best practices. And today, I have a great story around this backstory. So Mark and I played football together at the College of William & Mary. Mark was an offensive tackle. I was a defensive end. And Mark just used to crush me on a daily basis. No, he didn't crush me. We would do one-on-ones. It was great. So we played football together for many years. So Mark, The Hard Yards. This is a great name for a company too. So let's start by talking a little bit about your backstory, right? So you graduated from William & Mary. Then what did you do? How did you come to start Hard Yards?
Yeah, so right after William & Mary, I went to work for Capital One. And most people probably recognize that name, and they probably have a Capital One credit card in their wallet. But when I joined them, they were effectively a startup, right? We're talking late 90s. And so, I started there in technology as a developer and really had the opportunity, really the first half of my career there, to do a bunch of different things in technology, whether it was doing engineering, development, managing technology, working as an architect, project management, systems analysis. I got to move around and do a lot of things in a very short period of time. So it was a great learning experience. In about 2005, for the first time, Agile got brought into Capital One, and I actually was sort of on the front edge of helping Capital One adopt Agile practices. And at that point in time, I actually got certified to be a Scrum trainer, a certified Scrum trainer, and that's a weird name, but that's what it is. It was really one of the first 100 or so in the world that got certified to teach the class, and I worked right under the guys that invented it. So Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber really brought me up and helped me become a trainer. So that was an awesome experience. And then roughly halfway through my career there, which went about 17 years, I pivoted over to the business side and worked more as a business analyst, and ultimately landed doing product management work. So, running scaled teams, building enterprise products. As part of that journey, I went and got my MBA at Darden, University of Virginia. And it was there that I met the co-founder of Hard Yards, Jason Lamb, who could not have had a more different background than me. He was a Navy SEAL for 20 years. But what we had in common was a passion for technology, an appreciation for using Agile practices and things like design thinking, and an entrepreneurial spirit. So the seeds of Hard Yards got planted at Darden, and in October of 2016, I made the move to leave Capital One and go join the Hard Yards crew, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Yeah, that's great, Mark. So great story for my listeners to understand. So the way I actually connected with Mark, I wouldn't have connected with Mark if it actually wasn't for COVID, believe it or not. So when the COVID thing hit, and this is a best practice we should all learn. I saw Mark on LinkedIn. He did this really great post video. It was unbelievable. I saw Mark, I'm like, wow, Mark's in technology. So what the tip for everybody listening is, get out there, and I talk to my clients about people that know, like, and trust you, right? Your warm network. Make sure that your warm network knows what you do and connect with your warm network. So I saw this post, I reached out to Mark, I think like in the middle of the night, and basically we're talking, I'm talking to his company, right? I'm getting him on the show, and we're developing a relationship again. So it's super, super exciting. I'm really excited to be working with them. So let's talk, Mark. One of the greatest things about your company, with everything that you do, it's phenomenal with the agile and the training. I love the name, Hard Yards, right? The Hard Yards, right? It's great. I thought it was football. So tell the audience a little bit about how'd you come up with this name and how does it wrap around what your company does, and tell the audience a little bit about your company and what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not a landscaping company. So that's one of the common fallacies. We don't do that. So I connected with the name because, as you already pointed out, Mike played football, right? So I was an offensive lineman. I was like, we're always doing the hard yards. So I thought it came from football. It turns out that it doesn't. The etymology of it goes all the way back to naval terms, tall ship sailing days. So if you imagine a ship with really tall masts and the crew hauling the canvas up the mast to the tallest yard arms, the further you get off the deck, the more difficult and dangerous the task becomes. Those last few yard arms are the hard yards. And so because Jason's background in the Navy and then my background playing football, it just really resonated with us, the name Hard Yards. But in terms of how it plays out in, what we do at the company, we kind of view ourselves, we're a consulting company, right? We're a product management consulting company, but where we're different is we don't just roll in with a PowerPoint deck and show you and talk about what you should do. And we don't just body shop agile coaches or folks in there to, again, advise you on what you should do. We want to do it alongside our clients. So we want to roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, really help them drive change and build products. And that's the hard part. So that's where the name Hard Yards comes from, is we want to help our clients do the hard yards.
Yeah, so what's really cool about Mark's company, and it's, the really cool thing about, we do a lot of the same things here. I do at Philly Tech. So there's three things and a couple areas that I wrote down here. So Mark's company provides consulting, they provide training, they provide products. A lot of things around Scrum Master, Agile, design thinking. So Mark, what I think would be good, tell the audience a little bit about what are these things, right? For the layman, there's going to be people out there that are watching this show that know, but what is Agile best practices? What is a Scrum Master? What is design thinking? Like, what is that? Because that's the core, I think, of what you guys do.
Cool. Yeah, so we sort of think about what we do in three big parts, right? The first part, uncovering user needs. So this is where design thinking, lean UX, lean startup, all of those practices that I'm sure many of your listeners have heard about before, they're really about how do you get in the shoes of your user, really understand the problems, really understand their needs, and then rapidly iterate. Even if you're not writing software, we could be talking cardboard mock-ups, paper prototypes, 3D printouts, sure, to get rapid feedback. Right. So then once you have understood the problem really well and understood user needs, that's where the agile practices come in. So, we talk about Scrum, but that's just one of many. Mm-hmm. So there's Scrum, there's Kanban, there's scaling practices like Scrum at Scale or SAFe. And really it's about blending those things to do what is the most effective in your culture and your context so that you can deliver value quickly and incrementally to your customers and to your end users. And then on the back end of that, we talk a lot about metrics and measurement because, and quite frankly, this is one of the places where companies fall down the most is they launch it and they're not measuring anything to see whether or not it's working. And it's so critical to do that because with those measurements in place, it just informs the next learning loop, right? So if it's working, great. Like, how do you make it better? If it's not working, What are the experiments or tests or user interviews that you can do to inform the next pass through those things? So no matter what, you're working towards the right business outcomes.
Yeah, so Mark's business is really cool in that he works in really two core domain spaces, one being the federal space, which I actually recently just started getting involved in more with one of my clients. So there's the federal space, and then I know that you want to get more involved in kind of life sciences and healthcare. So talk about those spaces. I know your bread and butter, I think, is federal, but you have these other clients in healthcare and these areas that are really great. So tell the audience a little bit about those two segments.
Yeah, and first, talk a little bit about why those segments. You know, a big part of it is, so we talk about the name hard yards and helping clients do the hard thing. The thing about the federal market and the healthcare market is that, quite frankly, there's a lot of work to be done there. If I'm being honest, they're pretty far behind on these practices. And there's a lot of culture and bureaucracy and processes in the way. So it's a really hard problem. But we like hard problems,
Right.
particularly in those spaces, because if you think about what matters, in the world, right, our safety, like national security and our health are pretty high up there. I'm not saying they're the most important things, but they're really important.
Right.
So we focus on those markets both because they're difficult and because they matter.
So yeah, so what's really cool about what I see about Mark's company and where he's taking it is he's not just a training shop, right? So they work closely with their clients hand in hand, where I would think, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, Mark, on this, but most of your engagements are a blend of training and consultancy, right? So what I'd like you to do is tell the audience a little bit about what you're delivering and the types of clients you're delivering it to, and some of those success stories that are out there.
Yep. So first, a little bit about how we think about delivery. We use this phrase "shuhari" that comes from martial arts training, right? Shuhari breaks down like this: Shu, learn the rules, right? So whether you're learning a new agile practice or design thinking technique, or if you're in martial arts training and you're learning how to throw a reverse punch, or for me, I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so learning how to do an arm lock for the first time, the first thing you need to do is learn the rules. So training is important for us because it's how we teach people what the rules are, right? Then shuha, right, is break the rules, because everybody's context, culture, problem sets are different. So you learn the rules, you apply the rules, but then you have to break the rules and start to customize things to your context. And so we use this, again, this is playing off the martial arts thing. We call ourselves mixed agile artists. Not mixed martial artists, mixed agile artists. And what we do is we blend frameworks and techniques together based on what the client needs, what they're trying to accomplish, what their goals are, right? So it's a unique conglomeration of tools and practices to get them there. And that's really where where we shift from training to consulting, right? And we're doing that again side by side with them as they're working on projects and products, advising them as they go, investing in their own success, not just handing them here's what you should go do in a PowerPoint deck, but really working alongside them as we do it. And then the re-phase is, companies that are really, really good at this, they don't talk about design thinking and agile and measurement. It's just the way they operate. It gets ingrained in their culture. And this is where companies really become disruptive and innovative, right? So if you think about the usual suspects like Amazon and Facebook and Google, right? They're disruptive and they're so innovative because these practices are ingrained in their culture. And that's really the re-phase. And it can take years to get there, but that's the goal for us, to get our clients to that phase where they're really being disruptive in their own market, because that's how they can generate tons of value.
So great, Mark. So come on back in a few minutes. We're going to take a little break. We're going to talk about client successes, right? The types of success stories, that they've had. We're going to talk about the future of hard yards. Where is this training consultancy? Where does Mark see that the market's going? So I'm really excited. So come on back in a few minutes to Tech Talks. Thanks.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
I want to be a contender. I want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want
I want a home. I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Tech Talks. My name is Michael Bertoni, and again, I'm the founder and CEO of Philly Tech and New Prospect. And again, so excited that we're interviewing a longtime friend of mine that I went to college with, Mark Pushinsky. And we were talking about their services. They have a training and consulting company that works with federal clients and then obviously non-federal clients. So Mark, tell the audience a little bit about your client successes that you could talk about and the value proposition, right? So what type of clients you work with, and when they leave the engagement or what you're doing for them, what's the value you bring to their organization?
Yeah, great. Well, there's a long list. Where should I start? And every situation is unique. So this isn't a one-size-fits-all approach that we take. But just jumping into this, a couple things that we've done, right? So in the federal market, we tend to do a lot of innovation consulting, right? So looking like running challenge events, running hackathons, things like that. So a couple of examples, we worked with an Army client where they were looking at the mega city problem. So how do you operate, communicate, execute missions when you're in a massive city with skyscrapers and subways and all those sorts of things? It presents all sorts of technological challenges, but what we help them do is really understand the end users, so the war fighters, the leaders of those units. What are their needs? What are the problems that they're trying to solve? And we helped run an event where we brought together technology experts, companies with unique technology, and these end users to unpack those problems and really jumpstart some innovative work for the Army. Right, so that's one example.
Yeah.
Another one is sticking with the federal market. We ran a counter UAS event. So for the folks who don't know all of the military acronyms, drones, right? They had a problem where bad actors were flying commercially available drones, something you could buy on Amazon, into places where the military did not want them to be. And they had to come up with some innovative solutions quickly to deal with that. So we helped them work on that problem and ultimately land on a solution that looks like getting really skilled pilots to fly drones into other drones to knock them out of the sky.
Nice.
So that's a tip for your viewers, which is sometimes things that look really technically challenging can be solved in a non-technical way if you're super creative.
Yeah, there's actually a company, I'll get it for you. There was a professor at Penn that built a company where they had these massive size drones. These were like trash can size drones that he was building in our facility and testing. It was like a guy out of Penn Wharton. You might even know who he is, but no, that's cool. Go on with more stories.
Yeah, sure. So shifting out of that into kind of the healthcare space, we had a healthcare client, and their challenge was they really needed to amp up the pace in their ability to deliver data and analytics, right? Mm-hmm. Specifically, operational, clinical, and financial data in a set of dashboards. Right. So what we did for them is, we started with training. We did some design thinking, user-centered design, and helped them identify the specific personas that they wanted to go after. And we landed on the executive team as the customer set that we wanted to focus on for these analytics. Mm-hmm. And then we worked alongside their team to teach them agile practices by doing them and producing dashboards. And we massively changed their ability to get new dashboards, new data, new insights into the hands of users. Mm-hmm. And really in a matter of a month, completely changed the way they operated their data and analytics team. So that was a really great success for them. Delivered real value in terms of insights into, I can't talk about this too much, but how they pay providers. Mm-hmm. And what they thought productivity was and what productivity actually is. And once they saw that data, there was just this massive that aha moment, right? And we helped them get to that really, really quickly. So I'll give you one more example from a healthcare client. This is a very large multinational healthcare client who is undergoing a big transformation in the way they work. So they were traditionally waterfall development shop, really trying to embrace the agile mindset and the agile practices. And their challenge was, how do we do this at scale? How do we train people? How do we coach people? How do we motivate people to adopt these practices when you're talking about, across the globe? And so we created a really unique product for them that we call our accelerator product, right, that works with a cohort of folks over a series of 12 weeks. We do instruction, so it's a little bit of training, but we give them homework and pre-work that's really focused on their problems in real life. And so they learn by doing. And we had really great success with that product at that client. And now that's become something we're offering to other clients, and we're seeing amazing results working with teams, not just changing people's mindsets, but really driving better business outcomes through the application of that really intense coaching and consulting and working alongside their teams.
Yeah, what I hear a lot is, and I think a lot of listeners might agree, when you think of the federal space, you think, these guys aren't innovating, right? And I actually think there's a lot of business for you up here in the Philadelphia market, because I've been to some events where you can imagine, like, if there's not a company like yours that specializes in what you do in the region here, right? It's like a lot of these, there's just federal and state and local, the systems are like outdated. The processes are old, the people, right? So, I think it's really cool, the federal space. A lot of listeners might know this, but Mark had told me the other day again, there's like one portal where a lot of these projects come in through. And I was like, geez, how do I get access to that portal? Right? Mark, it's like, so Mark tells me about these projects coming through. It's phenomenal. They're able to pick and choose the ones that they want, the ones they want to focus on. So, Mark, tell about the future of hard yards, right? So, where is this market going? Where do you see your company going, right, to provide more value to companies?
Yeah, so I think where we're going is really, so what I talked about is pieces and parts of what we do that we've deployed, one, like a little bit of design thinking for one customer, some agile training and coaching for another. Where I think we're going, and we're seeing this happen, as we speak, is rather than working backwards from an objective that looks like, hey, we want to learn design thinking or we want to do agile, working backwards from what is the business outcome that you need, particularly today, right? The challenges that every organization is facing, whether that's federal or commercial, are unique, unprecedented, changing every day, and super challenging.
Right.
And so they have to be nimble in the way they think about the problem, and they have to be focused on outcome. So if we're going to be successful, we've got to be working backwards from driving results that really matter to our customers. And in order to do that, I think it means that we're doing more work with leaders, quite frankly, because teams can only go so far without the right environment. So we've got to make sure the environment's correct by working with leaders and leaning into the measurement side of it. So things are working. You can see the outcomes happening, as we're executing the engagement. So I think that's where we're going. That's where we are, and I think we're going to continue down that path.
And what are the areas that you see? Because you mentioned data, right? Big data and analytics. I think that's an area that is always an issue. Obviously, there's AI, there's machine learning. You talked about robotics with drones. Where do you think are the areas, like, just if you were to say in the next 5-10 years, if you were to tell the future, where do you think the market's going in terms of technology? And, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas around it?
Well, this may or may not be the answer that you're looking for, that your users want to hear, but I think here's the problem, right? Technology is changing so fast that placing a bet on any certain path of technology, to me, is massively risky, right? And the way that I think about this, and to a large degree the way that we operate as a company, is the goal is not technology adoption. Right. The goal is not, hey, we need to do AI, or the goal is not, we need big data. The goal should be, we have this unmet user need, or this business outcome, or this opportunity in the market that we see, and we want to go solve real problems.
Right.
The technology that you deploy to do that is absolutely secondary to the problem.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying technology doesn't matter. What I'm saying, the goal is technology adoption. The goal is solving business problems, meeting unmet user needs, right? And it's changing so quickly that I don't have a hard position of like, oh, everybody should double down on AI. Like, they should double down on AI if they think it's massively important to their users and their business.
Yeah, one of the things that I totally understand everything you're saying. The thing, unfortunately, in our market, a company's not necessarily going to come at you, or a federal, they're not going to necessarily probably come at you and say, hey, these are all my challenges, help me out. They're going to think about these, they're going to hear about these things, and it's going to spawn some type of discussion. It's always around business problem. Software and technology, right, at the end of the day, it's simple, right? It automates It solves business problems and business challenges, it increases productivity, it reduces costs, increases revenue, right? But there are technologies where you know of, I'm sure you know of them, Mark, is that they're truly allowing you to differentiate. And a lot of companies don't know what they don't know, right? They don't even know about these technologies and those types of things. But it's in terms of a specific area, right, that you would say, that you want to get involved with as a company in the future. You'd said, hey, we really want to get involved in helping more healthcare companies, federal. Is there any particular areas of your business that you're going to be focusing on in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I think, this, I may sound like a broken record on this one, but I think it's doubling down and really focusing on the measurement component of the business, less about a specific client. Like, we're pretty comfortable with the markets that we're in, the federal and healthcare spaces, but it's really leading with the data, right? So like one of the first things that we do when we go and start a new engagement is we do a quick assessment. It's relatively short, relatively inexpensive, and it's both qualitative and quantitative, where we actually pull data and show them, like, here's how you're performing quantitatively. We have models that we use that can like forecast like how long it's going to take them to finish the work that they have in progress. And for a lot of organizations, they're like, oh my goodness, we have a year's worth of work already authorized. Like, we got to fix, that's a problem, right? You brought up technology. Like, if you want to be nimble, you want to adopt new technology, and you already have a year's worth of work in pipeline, like, good luck being agile.
Right.
Right. So it's that quantitative nature of the engagement and the focus on measurement, I think, is where we're gonna spend a lot more of our time, because we think it's so important.
Nice. So, Mark, it's been awesome having you on the show. And like we had said, definitely want to continue talking with you. And I think this has been really educational, really show for me and hope for listeners. So come on back to Tech Talks, everyone. It is every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. And again, really appreciate, Mark, you coming on the show. And everybody, come on back to Tech Talks next week. Thanks.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining